Hey, guys, time now. I want to bring in a special guest. This guy is a lightning rod when it comes to Detroit sports fan. We love him. He is Joey Harrington, former Detroit Lion, played with the Lions from 2002 to 2005, third overall pick by Detroit. One of the best college football players ever to play in the NCAA. Joey Harrington
Some
joins
about those
us
third
now.
overall picks, huh?
Yeah, right. How you doing, Joey? Thanks so much for the time.
I'm all right. Lightning rod is not a word that I've heard used very often. It's more, let's see, most hated. Let's see, most likely to receive death threats. That's more of kind of the world that I was associated with. So I appreciate the upgrade in terminology.
Well, you know what, Joey? I'll tell you, it feels like so long ago, but I remember when you were drafted by the Lions. So many people had so much love for you and love for that pick, and it didn't go obviously as you wanted it to. But
that's because there was no Frank Ragnow, Panay Sewell, Kevin Zeitler, Taylor Decker.
That's just it. I think, for a lot of Lions fans, me included, I grew up a fan. It's one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing now. But when you see the team that this organization has put together now, I mean, Matthew Stafford went somewhere else, won a Super Bowl. I mean, he didn't suck here. You didn't suck here. The organization sucked here. And I think that's what a lot of fans have come to realize. We knew it was bad, but it wasn't because of the players. The organization sucked. When you look back on your time here in Detroit, and you see the success now that this organization has had. And by the way, it's still only one playoff. We don't want to get too crazy here. It's just one playoff win.
Two
playoff wins in 2 years. What do
You're shorting 50% of it now.
Yeah, right. Right. What do you think back on when you see where this organization was then and where they are 20 plus years later?
Yeah, I think when you're 23 years old and you're brought in to change, 50 years of a franchise, you don't. I think naive is probably a good word to use, right? I literally walked off the plane, and the first person that saw me getting off the off the jetway, he's like, "Hey, Joey, welcome to Detroit. You've got one of the two toughest jobs in the city, goalie for the Red Wings and quarterback for the Lions, and we haven't had a quarterback since Bobby Lane, so good luck, man." And he slapped me on the back, and he walked away laughing. And so, I didn't understand truly what I was walking into, right? So when you give everything that you have, when you work like a professional athlete who's trying to be the best at their craft, and you're fighting an uphill battle, not just with, the fact that everybody in the league is the best in the world, but you're fighting an uphill battle with the organization and the internal workings of that organization. You don't quite understand it. I think you said, a good thing. Looking back, it's like, all right, I did everything I could, right? And sometimes that doesn't work out, and that's frustrating. I think that was frustrating for all of us. But to be able to look back on that and acknowledge all the effort that all of us put in, whether it was myself or Dom Raiola or Jeff Backus or Roy Williams or Dre or James Hall, or go down that list of guys that were on that team that really put in everything they had. And then you look at what is happening for the team right now. And, honestly, for a long time there was bitterness and resentment on my end, just because of I worked my ass off, trying to do what you brought me in to do, and frankly got run out of town. But it's it took a while to come around and to have that kind of settle in. And man, now I'm so happy for this organization, and more so, I'm happy for the city, right? I'm happy for the city of Detroit and to be able to experience a winner and to be able to experience, the joys that come from winning NFL games. That's something that this town had wanted forever.
Yeah, Joey, 100%. Yeah, I know how that feels. Drafted 2005 to the Cleveland Browns. I actually thought I was going to get drafted to the Lions. You guys had 2 first-round picks that year, Mike Williams as well as Sean Cody out of USC. So I thought I was going to be a Lion.
There you go.
But no, I feel you on that. You know, Cleveland Browns drafted in 05, and I felt the same way when I got ran up out of there, essentially. Like, this bad organization ran me out. The hell with Cleveland. I don't think anything positive. I'm still not in the space where I think positively about the Cleveland Browns. How did you get to that space where you just finally say, you know what, good for them? Because I understand when you're young and you go through things like that fractures your mental to a certain extent.
I don't think you've ever said a good thing about the Cleveland Browns.
And I won't. I'm glad.
It does.
PTSD.
You don't understand it until you go through it, because people only see what happens on Sundays, right? They don't see all the work that goes into it. People don't see, like, you as a quarterback in the NFL, it literally has to be your life, right? So if you say, I'm going to completely focus my life around this one thing, and I'm going to give this team, this town, this organization, everything that I have, and that's the payment you get back, or that's how the response that you get back, which is like, screw you, get out of town. Like, yeah, there's going to be some resentment. To be perfectly honest, it was a moment where I was just kind of sitting there, and I was like, you know what, man, I'm 45 years old. This is, and like you said a moment ago, like this felt like a lifetime ago. I got 2 kids. You know, I got a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, and I'm loving the stage of life that I'm in. I'm loving everything that has come from that gift of being able to play, whether it was, you know, like 7 or 8 years, like my career ended up being, or 15 years. I'm loving everything that has come from that gift of being able to play in the NFL. And did it turn out like I wanted it to? No, it didn't. But part of getting old, part of, you know, I'm not going to say maturing, I don't know if that's the right word, but is being able to come to the realization, personal growth, is to be able to come to the realization that, you know what, life doesn't always work out how you want it to. But the only thing that you can control is the effort that you put in and how you handle the things that come out of it. And you know what? I did everything that I possibly can, and there is some truth to the fact that time heals all wounds. Well, time heals most wounds. And so I think it was sitting there and watching that first playoff game where I was like, you know what? Good for them. And you know, it was so funny. My youngest, my 13-year-old, who was not, my oldest was born when I was in my last year in the league in New Orleans. Okay. My youngest knows nothing about football, knew nothing, never experienced my time in the NFL, and he was laying on the ground, and all he knew is that I played for the Lions, and he was laying on the ground, feet up by the fire, and was chanting, "Let's go Lions!" Clap, 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 clap. And I was looking at him, I was like, you know what? If he can do it, then I can do it. And so that was kind of the moment, is watching that first playoff game with my youngest and saying, you know what, there's something that I need that growth, and I need to let this go, and let's celebrate a city that deserves some NFL success.
Hey, Joey, it's Maz. Thanks for coming on with us. You're a pleasure to have. And I still have got a number 3 jersey at home, by the way. Just wanted
to let
you know I do have
one. So you're the one.
I do. I do. Hey, I think Pete next door here, my audio guy, has one as well.
Audio guy.
Most of them got burned. Most of them got burned in a like bonfires. I think is pretty much what I saw when I left town. So that's vintage now.
Yeah, how'd you feel in 06 when he came back here with the Dolphins on Thanksgiving Day?
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't angry and I didn't want to, put my foot on their throat. It was an interesting experience because we beat them pretty good. Yep. You know, it wasn't a blowout, but by the end of the third quarter, we were up a couple touchdowns, and we didn't run the ball in the fourth. Or excuse me, we didn't need to throw the ball in the fourth quarter. We ran it every single time, and threw 3 touchdowns. You know, got the Phil Simms, peach cobbler thing, which loved it. I loved every minute of it. But we got to the post game interview. and somebody was like, yeah, you threw three touchdowns, but you only threw for like 220 yards. Like, it really wasn't that big of a deal.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? Screw you. Like, this just solidifies everything that I felt coming in. Like, there was this bitterness and, like, which really, I mean, which is part of why it permeated for so long, and it took the innocence of a 13-year-old laying on the ground chanting for the Lions for me to say, like, it's time to turn the page. But at that point, oh, that was the best tasting peach cobbler I think I've ever eaten.
No doubt, man. I know a lot of Lion fans were rooting for you that day. I know a lot wanted to see you get crushed too, but you won that day, and I was happy for you. How was it working with the Mooch, Mariucci, and Matt Millen? I mean, was it a crazy time for the Lions? Did they get along? Were they on the same page with you?
No.
Yep, I knew that.
No is the best way to describe that. And a lot of the stuff that I know now, I didn't learn until, 5, 10, even like 2 years ago. The one thing I can say is, and I reconnected with Coach Mariucci a few years ago, Steve was a fantastic person. Steve was, like, Mooch was the nicest guy. And he was a good football coach for his time in San Francisco because he was able to allow that veteran group of guys like Jeff Garcia and Bryant Young and T.O., guys who could control a locker room and already had a culture in place. He was great for that group because he was fun and got along well with the players. For our group of young, high-drafted screw-offs, he wasn't the right guy. And that's fine. It's okay to say. It doesn't make him a bad person. It doesn't make him a bad coach. It just means that he wasn't the right fit for that team. And the irony, too, is, like, everybody was, wearing paper bags and fire milling. Fair. I mean, fine. He didn't do his job in terms of putting together a great organization. But of all the people that I interacted with during that time, he is one of only 2 or 3 people in that entire place that I stay in touch with. Wow. And because even if he didn't win, he was a stand-up human being, and he would stand there and say, I'd talk with him every week, and he called me John Joseph, which is another story. But he's like, all right, John Joseph, here's what you did well, here's what you didn't do well, here's what you were great at, here's what you sucked at. Take it as you will, let's move on. Like, and there was an honesty and a transparency with Matt Millen that I think a lot more people in that organization could have learned from, and frankly could have led to some more success.
Wow.
Yeah, 100% enjoy it. Let's not focus on NFL for too long. Look, man, you were on the cover of one of the most iconic games of all time. In fact, every time I looked at this cover, that's on the back wall right now, NCAA 2003. All I can think about is they got it wrong that year. This is the very first year that I was on the game, and I was like a 70. I sucked. I couldn't catch a cold. But just getting back to college and Oregon, talk about what that means, because now I feel like ever since your run at Oregon, you get drafted 3rd overall, 2002. Phil Knight, he puts the billboard in Times Square. In 2001, I want to say, Oregon hit a boom. We lost to them in 2003, and you see all that they've done ever since. Just talk about Oregon kind of since because I feel like you were the igniter to what Oregon has become.
It's funny, and I know you probably felt this way. All of us, when we were like freshmen in college, we wanted to play, right? But that was one. But one, exactly. You wanted to be on the 3 deep so you could be on the NCAA football game the next year. Like, that was the goal.
Yep.
And so, that was a pretty surreal time in life for a lot of different reasons. And yeah, you're right. That was a time when Oregon, I'll say, exploded onto the national scene, but those building blocks had been put in place before that, right? Yeah. The first person that I think of was Bill Musgrave, right? He took us to our first bowl game in like 173 years, and Bill played for the Broncos and the Niners for a little bit and has been a coach in the NFL for a long time. But Musgrave's team led to the teams that played in the Rose Bowl against Kajana Carter and Penn State, and that team turned into our recruiting class class, which then became the Heisman campaign and the Fiesta Bowl and the NCAA college football, right? Those, and Phil Knight got involved in after the Cotton Bowl in '95, like, and that became the indoor facility, which became the stadium expansion, which became the uniforms. Like, there were stepping stones that were put in place. And frankly, like, we caught lightning in a bottle that year in '01, right? They put up that billboard, a 10-story billboard, kitty corner. Literally, you walk out of Penn Station and you are smacked in the face by, like, me standing in front of you. And for 6 months, in the epicenter of the sports world, kitty corner from Madison Square Garden, that's where we stood.
Yeah.
And some people said, like, that's the the greatest marketing ploy of all time, and some people hated it because it was in your face. But you know what? Had we gone 6-5 that year, it would have been you wouldn't know about Oregon football, because we would have been crushed. But we went 11-1, and not only did we go 11-1, but we got left out of the national championship.
I remember.
We got left out, which almost kind of created more buzz. Like,
was that
the
Nebraska? And then they snuck Nebraska.
That was Eric Crouch.
Exactly. I knew it. They shouldn't have been there. They got beat by Colorado. They got blown out by Colorado.
In the Big 12 championship game. That's right. So, like, there were a lot of things that fell into place for us, and they've capitalized on them since. But the one thing that, and I'll be the first to say it, we got facilities, we got uniforms, we got all the stuff that you look at from the outside. The one thing that we don't have is we don't have a national championship yet. You can point to, for all the things that fell into place to get us onto this college football national stage, there have been, whether it's the BCS choosing Nebraska, whether it's Dennis Dixon tearing his ACL, whether it's Bo hurting his shoulder against Washington, like, you can pick. There are 4 or 5 different things that have kept us from winning a national championship, whether it's Michael Dyer's knee, against Auburn Dennis's ACL. Like, we have been that close to getting that elusive national championship, which I think is the one thing that is keeping us out of truly, and I said it, the blue bloods of college football. The Michigans, the Ohio States, the Alabamas, the USCs, like, those programs, they have national championships, and we don't. And we need that to truly, I think, solidify our place in that club.
Joey, you did our segue for us. You couldn't have done it any more perfect. Talk about it. You are now in the same conference as the teams you mentioned, Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. Talk about Oregon last year coming into this conference, and, well, they did what Oregon typically does.
Well, I think you guys are probably regretting bringing us in. I mean,
a little bit.
If I'm being honest,
a little bit, number 3. A little bit.
No, honestly, it's the way I describe it is I love the Pac-12 or Pac-10 or Pac-8, but that's because I grew up on. That's what I grew up on. I grew up on the Rose Bowl. I grew up on Pasadena, Pac-10, Big Ten,
Michigan.
on New Year's Day. Like, that was I went to the Rose Bowl and watched Bo Schembechler's last game as the head coach of Michigan.
Tyrone Wheatley.
Oh my God! Like, I love that part of college football. Wow. But I think we have to acknowledge that college football, as we knew it, it's dead. It's gone, and it's not coming back.
Yeah.
So if that's the reality that I have to accept, then I'm happy to have a place at the table. I'm happy that the Big Ten said welcome and brought us in to be a part of what they were putting together. So, it's a two-sided coin for me. I'm happy that we're in the discussion, we're in the conference, and get to play against teams like Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State and Wisconsin but I also, at the same time, I miss the Pac-12. I do. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for our volleyball team to fly across the country on a Tuesday to play Rutgers, right? But that's the reality that college sports is right now, and like I said, I'm happy to be included in it, and maybe you guys are rethinking and including us, since we came in and took eight conference championships in our first year.
Hey, we beat Ohio State though.
Right, that's about all we did last year. But I'll tell you, Joey, you and I are almost identical, the same age. We come from the same sort of background college.
You're 26?
In my head, I am.
There
My
we go.
wife will tell you I'm younger than 26. But I just college football to me was always number one, always above the NFL, always above any sport. College football. That's how high in regard I held that sport, and now I just don't feel like that anymore. And I've accepted the fact that college football has changed, and I you know what? If you're gonna blow up college football, I'm glad that the Big Ten has been the recipient of that. But at the same time, I mean, just look at Oregon last year. Dylan Gabriel, what was that, his third team he played for or second? I mean, even the guy we got this year, we got, here at Michigan.
UNLV's former quarterback.
Well, I mean, we got the number one quarterback in the country, not because Sharon Moore is this great recruiter and Michigan was the place to be, but we had more money than anybody else had. And, I'm sure I won't care on Saturdays when Michigan's winning again, but at the same time, it just doesn't make me feel as good. Between transfer portal and NIL, and the spirit of NIL to me, I loved. But it's turned into something that I hate. And for those reasons, I just feel like it's fine. But I used to not sleep if Michigan lost a game for like 3 or 4 days. And now I don't even care. Just
sleep good.
Change the channel and watch something else. I mean, I don't know if you feel the same way.
Well, I'll tell you why
They haven't done a lot of losing.
Yeah, well, no, I'm going to guess at why you don't feel or why you hate NIL is because there's no rules around it, right? If you're gonna, and I feel the same way. Like, pay the players. Hell yeah. Like, I can't tell you how much money was generated off a 10-story billboard in downtown, in New York.
100%.
How many jerseys I sold that I never saw a dime for? Absolutely, pay the players. They deserve it. The universities have profited off them for decades. However, there needs to be some sort of guardrails in place to make sure that it's not just somebody who has the biggest checkbook coming over and writing, taking everybody else's players year by year, right? The NFL has a salary cap and has a system in place by which you can sign, you know who's going to be there, right? I can sign this player, and based on how our salary cap works and what his contract structure is, I pretty much know whether or not he's going to be there. You don't know that from year to year in the way that college football exists right now. It has truly gone. The irony of this whole thing is, the NCAA essentially killed SMU's program with the Pony Express and Eric Dickerson and Craig James, because they were doing exactly what teams are doing, what is allowed to do now. Like the ruling from the NCAA or the courts that said the universities can now directly pay players. Well, that's what killed SMU's program then. And the irony of this whole thing is SMU's been sitting on all this Houston oil money that's ready to go out and do the same thing again. So it's going to be SMU back in the mix because now they're allowed to pay the players as much as they want to. Like it's this insanity that you don't know. Like you said, UNLV's quarterback played 3 games and said, I don't want to play anymore. And now is he at Michigan? Is that the same dude?
I think he's transferred to Michigan.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Their starter from last year transferred. The one that ended up taking over, he ended up coming to Michigan.
Yeah, I don't understand. We need to have some way to know who is going to be representing us on the field and know that it's going to be done in a way that is, I don't want to say, that doesn't involve greed, but I think that's probably the part that's tainting it for a lot of people. Is It just feels like who's the highest bidder and who can pull out a checkbook to steal somebody else's player away from them.
No doubt. Hey, Joey, you've been so gracious with your time, man. I do want to ask you about this golf that you have this weekend. Braylon is coming out. I mean, we've got pictures on the screen right now of where you guys are going to be playing. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, this looks like a beautiful weekend.
Bandon Dunes is it's my happy place. It is golf mecca. It is as close as you can get to playing in Scotland and Ireland in the United States, and it's right on the southern Oregon coast. And so I've been doing this fundraiser with the Pac-12 for 14 years now. And the Pac is gone, so you know what? It's time to shift over to the Big Ten, and I get 2 guys from each of the schools to come out and represent their universities, and we go out and play some matches and do a little TV broadcast, have a little fun, and raise some money for my scholarship fun. So it's a hell of a weekend, and Brandon, I appreciate you making the trip across the country.
No, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. I just appreciate you got good energy, man, and the fact that Mike is the one that passed the information to you, man. Like, shout out to Mike Hart, man. He and I go way back. He slept on my couch his freshman summer. So, no, man, I can't wait to get out there. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But we just wanted to take you back down memory lane a little bit, man, in a positive way, man. Talk about these Detroit Lions. Talk about this Oregon Duck situation. They came in here and whooped up on my school. But you know what? There's always next year, and today is next year.
Hey, Joey,
That's all right. I appreciate you having the good memories right now, because after this weekend, when I whip your ass out on the course, you're not going to be feeling so good at, you know.
Hey, Joey, last time I checked, look, it's close to Oregon, but it ain't Otson. I may lose an Otson, but I'm not losing at Bandon Dunes.
What kind of golfer are you,
checking
Joe?
the weather report.
He's a quarterback.
What's
you know
that?
he can play.
Joey, what kind of golfer are you?
I'm a 2.8 index.
Oh my God.
Could you, Joey? Could you be like one of those? What is it, Jack Wagner that plays in those Pebble Beach Pro-Ams that he wins them every year?
The Corn Ferry Tour.
Yeah.
Not quite. I still get beat by the kickers. That's always the thing. Is the kickers are the always ones who gets me. But luckily for Braylon, the whole tournament is handicapped, so he may be sitting in a good place right around a 17 handicap. He can get some strokes and bring one home for the Wolverines. We'll see.
Hey, if you need a broadcaster or anything like that for the year number 15, Joey, look me up. All right.
I'm a good kart driver.
Thanks, man. Joey Harrington, guys. Thanks so much for this
Thanks
time.
a lot,
Thanks,
Joey.
Joey.
I really
Appreciate
appreciate
you, man.
it, buddy.
Appreciate you, Joey.
Appreciate you, man.
You bet, guys. Anytime.
All right, guys. Joey Harrington joining us here. We are way over for a break.
Well, you can't get a nicer guy.
He's a great guy. And look, it's one of those things, too. You're
What a
just
great interview.
So happy that you find the peace and you're able to get past all the negative. It's like he said, it's just not worth the negative energy that you waste on it. You focus on your kids, you focus on your family, you focus on the relationships that you've made, what you've built, a life for yourself, and you take that part of it. Other than that, let the rest
And I love hearing about the Mooch and Millen disparity.
100%.
Right.
We all knew it.
Right.
He told you about it.
Right.
He was great. I know people, we got to get to a break. I just, to piggyback on that, I have a podcast where I got an interview coming up with a Cleveland podcast, a Cleveland Streamcast, but just like Joey, I've stayed away from Cleveland for a long time. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to do anything. But I think sometimes when you get in around, you start to realize, I can let that go. I grow up. It's mature.
I had some good times there.
100%. And I think where he is where I'm trying to get to. And I think, this year is what I'll try to do with Cleveland. Like, I spent literally 5 years, in Cleveland. Like, I got drafted by Cleveland. Spent 5 years growing up in Cleveland. There's a lot of memories in Cleveland. So to just not have that as a part of my life feels kind of weird.
But you're in a good space now.
I am. Maybe better space, though, if I do all that.
Yep.
100%.
You're on your way.
I never know. You never know who you can meet